Hello, I'm Jazz, and welcome to the Black Mirror Oracle. Today, as I was scrying in the Black Mirror, I saw this, it was like a high-speed view of a person racing through their life, like getting out of bed and brushing their teeth and having coffee and going to work and then coming home. It was like in high speed. And it was all just like the mundane regularities, repetitive things of life. And then after a while, it just kept getting faster and faster. And then it cracked, like the image cracked like a mirror that was broken. And then I got this image of a giant mechanical wheel, like it was out in space or something. And it seemed very much like, it reminded me of like the wheel of Dharma or Mara's will in Buddhism. I mean, it didn't have any images like that, but basically what it felt like was the indifferent will or will of the universe. And it reminded me of like sometimes people who have gone on trips, not me, but I've heard other people who've done it, who that they see this big will, and then like all of their life choices, they can get thrown from one to another. It's interesting stuff. All right. So the feeling I got from this is that sometimes life can feel like a feedback loop that just keeps going over and over again, and you keep feeding the same thing. And I feel like today our cards are going to tell us how to break that feedback loop. Because remember, whatever you tell yourself, whatever story you tell yourself becomes your reality, right? So let's see what's in your shadow space. And I feel like we're going to pull some angel numbers in a minute. Okay. Illumination. Gain insights that light up your path. Clarity brings understanding and confidence. Okay. So I think that this is saying that just by watching this video, just by experiencing this moment, thinking about that loop, that routine that is going to collapse you if you don't change it up at some point, right? Just thinking about it, that clarity, that understanding will start giving you the motivation to change, right? Because a lot of times it's the lack of awareness. It can be the lack of will, but I think it's the lack of awareness that keeps us trapped in this sort of feeling of like you're trapped in a cycle of indifference, right? And your shadow card is this woman and this giant golden apple. I feel like with this card in your shadow position that it can feel like the big, beautiful thing is always one step away. And so you're just going to keep with the grind. An apple is nourishment. An apple is, a golden apple specifically, is the creme de la creme, the best, right? The brightest thing. It's gold. It's, and she is reaching towards it, but also kind of scared of it. So I feel like you might be scared that if you break the monotony, if you break the routine, that the thing you really want is going to be either unreachable or that you're going to not know how to handle it. Because we talk a lot about capacity, right? How we sometimes meet people and even fall in love with people who don't have the capacity. It's not because they don't want to love you the way you deserve to be loved. They might not have the capacity, the emotional capacity, the mental capacity. Kindred soul. Okay. I feel like with that giant machine while the monotony, that sometimes you can lose track of your friends. You can lose track of the things that make your life happy. you can get into a routine where you feel kind of stuck. And so I think it's really important to remember to find those kindred spirits, even if they're online, wherever you can find them. And make sure that you're talking to somebody, every day a little bit, or every few days, even if it's just a little bit. I actually have it on my to-do list to talk to people because I'm such an introvert. I'm like, make sure you call somebody, make sure you text somebody. I can just be in my own world for days. I call it domestic monasticism, right? I'm basically like, I say a monk, but I guess it's a nun. But a nun's got different connotations, so I am beholden to no one. That's the way I like it. Okay. We have prosperity. Okay. So when you're able to break this feedback loop that you're telling yourself, what stories are you repeating yourself to yourself over and over again? With this Kindred Souls card too, what stories are you repeating to your friends that then they're repeating back to you? And a lot of times this can be scary because if you do move into a higher vibration, a higher frequency, a higher energy, sometimes you can lose people who you felt like were kindred spirits because not everybody can follow you. It doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make you wrong. It doesn't make you better than them or anything. But some people just aren't ready for that. Remember I was saying about capacity. And that's hard because it means that a lot of times you have to, if your energy is not vibrating with a certain person, you've got to step back. And the best way to do that, I think, is to step back and, temporarily and just test how you feel when you're not in the feedback loop with that person. And then if you go back and you start a new story of who you are and where you want to go, are they reinforcing the new, more positive, more higher frequency aspects, or are they trying to drag you back? And then that will judge whether they can follow you or walk with you to the higher vibration. Or even if they don't, as long as the person is willing to accept the difference without trying to be pushy about it. Not everyone is on the same journey, and that's fine. We've been getting this card a lot from this deck, which is like a giant mirror. And it kind of reminds me of when I was saying that giant wheel, except it's even more profound because it's a mirror. So, a mirror. So, with that, I feel like the machinations of your daily life are now becoming stark to you. And you can't ignore the story you've been telling yourself that everything's okay, that you can just keep doing this way, that, the thing you really want to do is too difficult or too scary. It's coming up to the surface. Forgive. It's really important that you're able to forgive yourself during this time, because honestly, when you start moving on what I'm talking about, out of the mundane into whatever this dream that you have, whatever this hope that you have, this prosperity that's coming for you, this like glow up, this level up that you're being told to break this feedback loop of the story you're telling yourself, while also stepping into your dreams and your power. So you're going to have to, you're going to feel the need to forgive yourself, right? Because you're going to be upset with yourself for not doing it earlier. Why did I let myself? But remember, you only have the capacity to do what you can when you can. You can't hold that against yourself. I'm seeing a lot of major arcana energy here. We will get to our channeled tarot message. I'm also getting this feeling that sometimes with that giant will that feels very indifferent, it almost, that the machinations of life can feel very cruel, and they are. I mean, life can be extremely cruel. Obviously the cruelty of other people, but there can also be a lot of cruelty, what feels like cruelty is perceived as cruelty by nature. A lion eats a zebra, it feels very cold, very indifferent. And so with that giant machination wheel, remember that we bring meaning to our lives. We bring meaning to the universe. We are the eyes, the ears. We are the sensory organs of the universe. So we're bringing meaning to those machinations. Okay, beloved, let's start your channel tarot reading. Few deep breaths. Beloved, you have been moving through your life like a sleepwalker, but somehow underneath it all, you've been balancing everything, including an awareness that things aren't quite right. Things aren't quite how you want them to be. And you feel like you've had to endlessly pull on your strength. And you're getting to the point, beloved, where you feel like, am I strong enough to go over the next hill? Am I strong enough to fight that next battle? And you are, because there's about to be a huge shift in your perspective. Like I said, kind of a level up, a glow up. And it starts with stripping the illusions from your eyes. And the next step is to stop the feedback loop in your mind that you grasp onto and that can spiral out of control. We're getting more prosperity energy here. You've been sometimes blocking your own prosperity, and I don't necessarily mean physical prosperities and money, but, and this is not manifestation shaming or anything like that at all. It's the idea that our own minds can sabotage us, right? And by reaching out and asking for support and help from the universe and from other people who are trustworthy and letting go of those connections that are not, it's going to bring you into a higher love relationship with yourself and with life. And sometimes you get stuck in your head, beloved, and you forget that while this world is here to keep you grounded and you have all these different energies kind of pulling at you day to day, you are a spiritual creature, a spiritual entity having a human experience. And so when you can get out of your own perspective by taking a step back or by looking at your life from the point of consciousness, like meditate on the point of consciousness. Where is your consciousness coming from? You'll be able to step into this queen energy and this sun energy. And boy, this is powerful, because here we have the sun, death, and judgment all in a line. Wow. While also having Hanged Man, Two of Cups, and the Lovers. So these are major shifts in your life in the areas of love, career. And there's a reckoning coming for you. But this reckoning is not to be feared, but rather to be embraced, because it's basically you going from being that mechanical sleepwalker to there being a break with this death card energy. That means transmutation. It means that you cannot hold on to the old ideas any longer, beloved. But in order to transmute that into this sun, which is yes, yes, yes energy. Yes, I'm going to say yes to life. I'm going to be alive, even if it's messy, even if it's painful. You know, so many of us suffer from depression or anxiety, things like that. Obviously, we need to get the physical, real world help for that. And, you know, the mental help for that and stuff. But also so much of it is just acceptance. Not accepting that you're going to be pushed down, but saying, you know, I forgive myself I accept that this is where I'm at right now. And then you start relieving the pressure off yourself. And rewriting your internal story is the reckoning. You are the story you repeat to yourself. What story are you repeating to yourself, beloved? Ooh. This is a powerful, powerful frequency change coming for you. These universal images of like almost your entire life cracking, on top of the image of the machinations of the universe, of which you are a sensory organ, right? Almost like the will of Mara. Angel number 101, starting over. Oh, that's that death energy right through the sun, right? You're transmuting. Happiness is linked to self-expression, growth, and experience. Learning from failure is key. Happiness is real, possible, and around. Understand its process and pursuit of it. Joy is fluid. It's in the little things and the big ones. Failing is fun. Start fresh. So, wow, that's actually a really powerful angel message for you. Failing is fun. You know, I always say that, like, I have another affirmation card somewhere that comes up sometimes that says, like, something about, like, you know, don't take failure personally or something. But what I see that as is failure is just trial and error. It's not really a failure. In Hebrew, the word sin, you know, sin, like, oh, I sinned, it actually means to miss the mark. So therefore, most of the things that we're getting ourselves in trouble over, you know, obviously, I'm not talking about the big things like crimes and stuff. I'm talking about how much we punish ourselves day to day for the teeny tiny little things that really aren't that relevant. And we're catastrophizing them like they're huge deals, like comparing them to like, oh, like, I don't know, like they're a lot bigger than they are. But when you reframe these failures, like maybe not getting the job that you wanted or things like that, is if we reframe them as trial and error, like we're not making mistakes, we are learning. And the old way, the old reality, the 3D world says you've made a mistake, you're punished, and there's a power over and there's a power under, and if you aren't scraping to become the power over, then you are the power under, and that feels like death. But when you get into this space, this 3 of Pentacles energy of mutuality, of creative co-consciousness, and that's raising your vibration up to the other dimensions, right? When you get into that space, that's when you really step out of this energy of lack and into the energy of prosperity and abundance. And that can manifest in your physical life, but you know, the inner world, if you follow Donald Hoffman, the neuroscientist at all, the inner world is everything. And, you know, most of your life is shaped by your perception. But I see for you with the Lovers and the 2 of Cups and the Sun, all this beautiful energy coming towards you. And it's because you're doing the work to get out of this sleepwalker energy. And there's no Tower here, but with this Death card aligned with Judgment here, it's a clarifying energy, right? We even had that earlier with the Crow. Illumination. Clarity brings understanding and confidence. Oh, beloved, this is a huge change. You've gone through the fire. You've been raked over the coals, and you got the help you needed. You're working on it. And soon something's going to click, and you're going to kind of start laughing at the absurdity of it all. And when that moment comes, things are going to feel a lot different. I hope you'll come back here and comment on this video when that happens, because I want to celebrate with you when you realize the absurdity. You can realize it mentally, but there's a point where your spirit finally feels it. And when that happens, you are free, beloved. You are free. Thank you so much for being here. If this speaks to you, please consider subscribing so that the message reaches other souls who are really wanting to deep dive into their spirituality. Because on this channel, this is for the seekers who have gone beyond beginner, beyond intermediate, and they're ready to dive deep into their soul. And they understand that soul work, shadow work, healing your consciousness, this is all the same work. So thank you so much for being here. We have a small but wonderful community, and I'm so grateful that I have the opportunity to grow along with you.